Hello, my name is Oscar. I'm a computer science facilitator. In this video, I will show you how you can declare arrays in Visual Basic and see also how you can input array elements and display array elements in Visual Basic. We will use Visual Basic 6.0. Let's go right now. An array is a set of elements with the same data type. It means that it's a set of contiguous memory locations able to store many elements with the same data type. An array can be one-dimensional or multi-dimensional. So, multi-dimensional arrays are also classified into two main categories. We have two-dimensional arrays and three-dimensional arrays. In this video, we will focus on one-dimensional arrays and two-dimensional arrays. One-dimensional array is a collection of elements which are arranged on one row. So it's like a table consisting one row of items or one column of items. So this is the general format of one-dimensional array in Visual Basic. You see that the format of monodimensional arrays in Visual Basic is different from the general format of single-dimensional arrays in C++, because in Visual Basic we use the following symbols. We use parentheses instead of brackets. And here also in Visual Basic, this value does not mean the total number of elements to be stored by this array, but instead X denotes the last subscript or index of memory of the last memory location. So by using a drawing, here we have an array which is able to store 4 distinct elements but with the same data type. And you see that here we have started at index 1. This is name 2, means the memory location at the second index. This is the memory location at the third index, and this is the array memory location at the fourth index. So remember that when we want to access array elements, we use subscripts, and the subscripts of an array start from 0 to the total number of arrays minus 4. But this is in C++ programming. So remember that the value of X in Visual Basic does not mean the total number of elements to be stored by array. So this value X is the last index, is the index of the last array memory location. So we can start by 1 here, 2, 4, or start by 0, 2, 3. So it depends upon how you have declared your array. So in Visual Basic, we have two ways to declare arrays, so that we should start by index which is different from 0, or start by 0 index. So a two-dimensional array is a table because it forms the elements are arranged into rows and columns of a table. So the general format of two-dimensional array in Visual Basic is the following. We have array name, which is an identifier respecting Visual Basic variable naming rules. Here we have a pair of parentheses. These are the operators which are used to declare arrays in Visual Basic. And here we have the value for rows and here the value for columns. But as I have told you, X does not mean the total number of rows of this two-dimensional array, and also this Y does not mean the total number of columns as it is in C++. So you see that our array will store X times Y elements. So here we have started by index 1 1, but also we can start by index 0 0. It depends upon to how you have declared your array. So we will discuss about this later. Declaring arrays. So in Visual Basic we have two keywords which can be used to declare arrays. The first one is public and another one is dim. So public keywords is used to declare an array which will be visible, which can be used throughout an application. It means that once you declare an array by using public keywords, this array can be used by any procedure into your Visual Basic application. So array will be public. Dim keyword is used to declare arrays which are only known by the procedures or the local procedures on which these arrays have been declared. So now let us see how we can declare one-dimensional array. So we first of all choose the keyword among the two keywords which can be used to declare arrays in Visual Basic. Suppose that we are going to use dim keywords. So we write the keyword dim and then array name, and here we have subs which is embedded into parentheses as data type. So Visual Basic programming language also has built-in data types like integer, like single, like double, like variant, like string, and so on. So you have first of all to know what the types of data that this array is going to store. So you have to keep in mind that subs here does not mean the total number of elements on which this array we restore. This always shows the index of last memory location of this array. So subs indicates the last index or subscript in the array. So this is an example of an array which is called student name. And this array will restore 6 elements, not 5 elements. This is because this number 5 does not mean the size of an array in Visual Basic programming language. This is the index of last memory location of this array. So this array is called student name, and this array will store 6 elements starting from 0 index to 5th index, and the data type of this array is string. So you can declare other arrays of your choice respecting the following syntax. So we use dim or public keywords. Here, after we use also array name, any name you want, respecting Visual Basic variable naming rules. Here you put the last index of your array, and here use keyword as, which is followed by data type. So you see that in Visual Basic you can declare an array and be confused with the total number to be stored or to be accommodated by this array, because the value in parentheses does not mean the total number of arrays. So each time you declare an array, by default, in each time you declare an array in Visual Basic, as the value in parentheses does not mean or show the total number of elements to be stored by that array, you can be confused, because the total number of this array will be equal to the value in parentheses plus 1. So to overcome this problem, to avoid the confusion about the number of elements to be accommodated by this array, we can use option base 1 keyword. For example, if I write down option base 1 keyword and then I declare an array, you see that my array will be declared inside a local procedure because we have used the demo keyword, and my array name is called class name. Here we have the value 10, which does not mean the total number of the elements, and the elements to be accommodated by this array are the sequence of characters, or just these are the names because we have used string data type. So as I have used option base at the beginning, this array will store only 10 elements. But if you omit this keyword, array will store 11 elements, because this shows the index of the last memory location of this array. You can also overcome the problem of being confused on the total number to be stored by an array in Visual Basic by declaring an array so that you can specify lower bound and the upper bound of the script using two keywords. Let us see the syntax. So here I have declared an array which is called array name, and here I mention or I show immediately the first memory location of my array and the last memory location. For example, I have an array which is called the count, and this array starts from 100 to 500. So the total number will be the total number of elements to be stored by this array will be known by counting the numbers from 100 to 500. So in this case, you will not start by 0 index. You start this 100 is lower bound. This is 2 keywords, and 500 is upper bound. Now let us see how we can declare two-dimensional arrays. So the syntax is almost the same, but remember that a two-dimensional array is an array which has the table cells, or just it's an array containing the rows and the columns. That is the reason why we must have indices for rows and indices or subscripts for columns. And you see that sub 1 and sub 2 are separated by a comma. So you can also declare a two-dimensional array by using public keywords so that it can be used by all procedures which are in this Visual Basic application. So this is an example of a declared two-dimensional array. So array name is called student, and the sub 1 is 9, sub 2 is also 9 as string. String is data type. It means that this array will accommodate the letters, the text, or just the names. So by looking how this array has been declared, it's clear that this array will store 100 elements, because as I have 9 here, the first index will be 0. When you count from 0 to 9, you will have 10. And here also, when you count from 0 to 9, you will have 10. So to know the total number of elements this array will accommodate, I take 10 times 10. So the total number of elements will be equal to 100 elements. So array elements start with student name 00. We start by index 0 for rows and index 0 for columns, and the last array memory location will be student name 9, 9. So, or also we can declare this array starting by any other index we want. For example, here we have started by 1 to 10. Here we have also 10 elements, and also here we have 10 elements. So this declaration, the second array declaration, is the same as the first array declaration. So within an array, it is possible to initialize it. And also, we can initialize an array and try to access or to display initialized or assign the elements to this array. We started by mono or single or one-dimensional array initialization. So here we have the syntax, Visual Basic syntax to declare or to initialize one-dimensional array. We use array name. Here we use a pair of parentheses, and within or inside the pair of parentheses, we put the index number of last array memory location. Here we use assignment operator, and here we put the value. So if this value is an integer, single, or float, you don't embed it within double quotes. But if the value here is a set of characters, is a character or a set of characters, it must be enclosed within double quotes. So here we have an example of an array which is called student name, and this is the second location of this array, memory location of this array, which has been initialized to this value. This value is a sequence of letters, so it's a text, or just this is a set of characters. That is the reason why we have used double quotes here. So let us see a simple Visual Basic program where we have used an array, we have declared an array, initialize this array, and access the elements of this array. So here we have array declaration line. So we first of all declare an array by using dim keywords inside an event procedure which is called form load. So remember that a Visual Basic program, the statements, Visual Basic statements, are embedded into procedures, event procedures. So here we have private sub means sub procedures, and here we have end sub. So inside the private sub and the end sub, we have to write down Visual Basic statements. So as we have used form load event procedure, don't forget to write down form1.show, because we want to display the elements of this array on a form. So this is the statement to declare an array which is called the number, and this array will have 3 elements because here I have 2, and these elements are single, or just the data type of this array is single. It means that the elements are decimal numbers. This is a comment Visual Basic comment statement is denoted by this operator. It's like a single quote operator. So to initialize, as I have told you, we write array name and also the index number of array, and then assignment operator. Here we give the value in that memory location. So I have initialized all memory locations of my array, and now I'm going to print my array elements by using print function. So we can use print function or list box. So if we use print function, array elements will be displayed on Visual Basic form. So we write 3 statements to print every element, every initialized array element. So this is the output of our program. So you have to write the following statements into a given Visual Basic event procedure. You run the codes in order to get the following output. Now, let us see how we can initialize and access two-dimensional array elements. So the syntax is almost the same. The only difference is that a two-dimensional array has row index number and column index number, and we have to take all of them into consideration. So this is an example of a two-dimensional array which has been initialized to this value. So accessing array elements in one-dimensional array. So this is an example of a two-dimensional array which has been declared, initialized, and also whose elements are accessed by using print function. So you see that these are the names which have been entered into this array, or which have been initialized to array locations and then printed on a form. So this is the declaration VB array declaration statement, and this is the initialization of all array memory locations, and these are the statements to print all values which have been assigned to array locations. So after writing down all these statements, you run your Visual Basic program to get the following output. So after initializing an array, we can print its elements by either using print function or list box. So once we have created the list box control on a Visual Basic form, we can also use another function called add item function, so that the elements which are stored into our array will be printed into a list box instead of being displayed on a Visual Basic form. Let us see the syntax. So the syntax of print function is the following. We have print keyword, and here we have a variable to be printed, but you can also use object name dot print function, and then you put the variable whose content will be printed. Remember that print function is used when you want to display the elements on a Visual Basic form. Once you want the elements of an array to be displayed into a list box, you will use another function which is called add item. So you can type list name or just a list object dot add item, and here you put the variable whose content will be printed into a list box. So add the item is a Visual Basic function used to add the items to the list box. Entering and displaying array elements. You can't initialize arrays every day, so it's a good habit to be aware of how you can enter the elements into an array and then write down Visual Basic statements to display the stored array elements. Entering array elements. So we write event procedure. Here we are going to use a form load. It means that after storing the elements into array, we will print them on a Visual Basic form. So we have to write it down form1.show, and then immediately declare an array. So dim student marks, and here we have 10. It means that our array will have 11 elements, and the data type of elements to be accommodated by this array is double. It means that our array will be able to store decimal numbers. And also we have to declare another variable which will be used into the loop, and this variable must be an integer variable, demo I as an integer. We use for loop for I, which is assigned 0 to 10, because we must have 10 elements. We take each array location and assign it input box so that we can enter array elements. So input box is a built-in function in Visual Basic with 4 components, but here we have used 2 components. The first component of input box is called the prompt, so it shows the question or the message showing the purpose of input box, and we have the title. This is the title of input box window, but the role of input box is to enter the text. And the next I to close the for loop. So these Visual Basic statements will help us to enter 11 elements into array called student marks. End sub. So now, what are the statements which are needed to display array elements? So you see that the Visual Basic statements are always written down into the event procedures, because Visual Basic is an event-oriented programming language. So the events must happen so that the codes are executed. So here we can also embed the following codes into private sub and end sub. But I didn't mention private sub and event sub. Be aware that each time you want to enter array elements in Visual Basic, you must use a loop, and also if you want to access the stored elements, you will use also a loop. That is the reason why the following statements to display array elements will be also written down into event procedure. So we have a loop to display array elements. And also you see that you have used the print function. It means that the following array elements will be displayed on Visual Basic form. So now let us write it down Visual Basic array statement to enter element into array which are together with Visual Basic statements which are used to access store the element into array into a single event procedure. So we have the procedure name form load and form1.show, so that the array elements will be displayed on a Visual Basic form. We have the declaration statement of our array dim student marks 10 as the above. We have also the declaration of an integer variable which will help us into the loop. And here we start by 0 to 10. So I is initialized to 0 and the upper bound is 10. So each time for each value assigned to I, we have to enter an array element by using input box function, and then we close the loop. For loop, we start immediately another loop whose target is to access the stored array elements. We proceed in the same way for I, which is assigned 0 to 10. Form1.print student marks I. It means that the values stored into as I is taking different values, they will be also displayed each one separately. So we have also to close this loop and then end sub. So after writing these codes, we have to compile our Visual Basic project in order to check if there are no syntax errors, and then run the program to get the output. So let us see the output of this program after compiling and running this Visual Basic application or project. So for example, here we have a Visual Basic application where we have used the arrays, and we have both statements to enter array elements and display them. So event procedure is form load. It means that we have not yet created list box on our Visual Basic form, but instead want to print array elements on the form. So we use form1.show inside form load event procedure. This is the declaration of an array which is able to accommodate 11 elements, and the elements are the decimal numbers with more than 4 digits after the dot, and this is the declaration of an integer variable that will be used into the loop. For I, which is assigned 0 to 10, we assign in each memory location of our array a value by using input box function. So we close this loop, and then we start immediately another loop whose target is to display array elements. In this way, we will use print function so that our elements will be displayed on Visual Basic form. So we close also the second loop, and then we close our event procedure. So after writing down these codes into Visual Basic 6.0, we have to compile our project. If we see that there are no mistakes or syntax errors, we run immediately the project. So after running the project, we will have input box window where we are going to enter. So we type the value from keyboard and then click on OK, so that we got opportunity to enter the second one. So after reaching 11 values, immediately we will have the Visual Basic form containing the following values. Let us count all of them to see that they are equal to 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So here also we have another Visual Basic project whose target is to initialize a two-dimensional array and then print its elements by using add item function. So here we have Visual Basic declaration statements. So this is a declaration of a two-dimensional array which has 3 rows and 2 columns. So here we have initialized all its elements, and here we have accessed its elements by using add item function. So after writing the following codes into Visual Basic 6.0, we have to compile to see if there are no syntax errors, and then we run the project to get the following output into a list box not on the Visual Basic form. So thank you for watching this video. I think that you have got something from it, but don't forget to subscribe on my YouTube channel in order to get more new videos. See you next time.